So here's the traditional record label model that most of us are familiar with. You discover an undiscovered artist or band, then you sign that band, then you record them or release a single, then maybe another single, an EP, an album, and essentially repeat that. That's the business model that record labels have been following probably from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And it's sort of still true now for major labels, but more on that in just a second. There's a new record label model, a model that I'm seeing being done by smaller independent record labels in our community that is blowing my mind, that I think is the new record label model. Let's discuss. In fact, the new record label model is very similar to a very, very old original record label model, all the way back to the 20s, 30s, when recording machines and playback machines were first invented. Some of the first record labels were Edison Records or Columbia, and these companies actually made the machines that you would play the records on. So the music was secondary. Their business model was the first product that they had, which was a record player, gramophone, Victor. It was kind of like the Keurig company where they make coffee machines, and then of course they have to sell coffee pods. So back then they're like, we're making these machines, that's our main business model, but to sell more machines, we need music for people to play on. And so they started to find artists, record those artists. Often they wouldn't pay them, and they were making records that they would sell. And that ended up becoming its own business model and the music industry we know today. So how can we learn from that original model and apply it to a new modern indie record label model for today? What I'm suggesting is that instead of looking at the kind of the common template that we follow of signing a band, releasing a single, releasing an album, and repeating, I think there's more to it. I think that the record labels who are going to be sustainable and successful and fulfilled are record labels that do other things, not just releasing music. Similar to the earlier model where they made actual record players and cylinder players and cylinders. You don't have to do that. You can if you want to. But I'm inspired by the record labels that are coffee shops that have a record label, or they're record stores that eventually start their own record label, or they're record labels that eventually start their own record stores. My point is that you can have the music being your primary business and then a new business comes out of it, or the other way around. You have this business like teaching music or being a recording studio, and then you decide to start a record label as the secondary business. I think that this is the most exciting way to doing things. I think it's the most diverse way of doing things. It's the most sustainable, and it's what I'm really excited about when I see record labels today who are adopting this new record label model. I talk about this in my new book, Why We Still Need Record Labels. Please check it out if you haven't already. I mean, don't get me wrong. The foundation of what we do is the traditional model of still signing bands, working with artists, releasing their singles, releasing albums. That's still a part of what all of us do, and it's the best way to get music to music fans. But there's another piece. In fact, I think that releasing music is just one piece of a bigger puzzle. We've talked on the show before about multiple revenue streams. It doesn't necessarily need to be a multiple revenue stream thing. I just think that when a record label does something else, that they are more than just releasing music. Maybe they're a charity. Maybe they support people groups who are marginalized or elevate voices that haven't traditionally been elevated in the music industry. Maybe that's the secondary and primary thing, part of their record label. Maybe it's a plug-in company that releases music on their own label by artists who use their plug-in, or the other way around, a record label that starts and eventually creates their own audio plugin. I've seen record stores who already have hungry music fans who want to buy records coming into their door every day and being like, why don't I release my own music? Same thing with music blogs. People are coming to us to read about great music. Why don't I start to sign these bands? There's YouTubers who are starting record labels. There's TikTok celebrities who are starting record labels. There's universities who are starting record labels as a sandbox for their students to create in. Honestly, there are so many examples. Now, just pause for a second. There are still labels that just do that traditional model. There's nothing wrong with that, and they do it well. But if you feel like you're struggling, you feel like you're not reaching an audience, you're not meeting your tribe, you're not generating enough revenue, then consider this new model, what I think is really the future of record labels, where they exist releasing music and connecting with fans inside of a different shell. And I think this is unique to independent record labels, and it's something that major labels today are not doing at all. They have no concept of this. In fact, their business model now is to basically take like a young energetic person, put them on a Disney TV show, wait a couple years until they're an adult and it's not weird, and then turn them into a pop star. That's literally their model. So nobody else is doing this, and it's a prime place for independent record labels like us to exist, to be able to do a couple different things: a podcast about music and a record label, a coffee shop that serves people coffee every day that also sells their own records, an inner city youth charity that releases records by those youth. I just think it's the way that record labels are going to survive and exist. And I think it's a really exciting thing. And for you as an entrepreneur, as a creative person, it just gives you more creative outlets to be creative. Thanks for watching. Thanks again to our friends at Lander. If you are a record label and you're looking for a digital distributor, our friends at Lander are the ones that make these weekly episodes free and accessible to everyone. So I just want to thank them. And you can check them out by going to lander.com/other record labels. And also check out the new book, Why We Still Need Record Labels. It's kind of a celebration and an argument for why I think we need more independent record labels in the world. Thanks for watching.